sent forth a cascade of souls to sustain you. Oh, the great tree.
Sup, ladies and gentlemen, Elune here, and of course, welcome back to each and every one of you. I want to apologize for being radio silent for the last few days. I've been sick. I'm still sick, but I feel a little bit better today, so I thought I really want to make this video. It's been driving me nuts that I have this video in my head that I can't give you guys. So we're going to talk about Elune today. There's, I think, more than enough evidence that Elune isn't exactly who she claims to be. I'm not saying that she's a bad guy, just to be clear. Nothing bad here. I have a tendency to suspect everyone of being the bad guy, but usually on the god level. And as far as Elune is a god, there is definitely distrust there. But no, this is just genuinely a video questioning the origins of Elune and what exactly do we know about Elune. Her exact motives can't be known to us because so little is known of Elune. So if we get to the end of this video, if you're still watching then, and you go, you know what, Elune, fuck it, bro, I agree with you, you hit the like button. If not, you hit the dislike button and we forget this ever happened. If you've already hit the like button, you fucking rebel, you. I love you. Thank you so much for that. Ladies and gentlemen, you can join us over on Twitch, Patreon, or a YouTube channel members. Any and all support is always very much appreciated. With that said, let's get into it, shall we? First things first, Elune has connections to the cosmological forces. I want to explore, before we even get into the speculation, all of these connections. And we're going to start with the ones we know the most of, and then we're going to work our way down to the ones that, quite frankly, is embarrassingly weak in terms of its connection, but we're going to pretend like I've made the connections anyway. The Shadowlands. Do I need to say anything? For those of you that missed the Shadowlands expansion, the Winter Queen refers to Elune as her sister. She tells us when she meets Ysera for the first time, this is of my sister, why would I save her pet? And then of course when she comes face to face with Tyrande as the Night Warrior, she accuses Elune of leaving them. So this gives us a lot of information, right? So first and foremost, this tells us that Elune at one point or another either was in the Shadowlands or had very close contact with the Shadowlands, and specifically with the Winter Queen. Now, there is an outside chance here that Elune's connection to the Winter Queen actually comes through the Emerald Dream. Remember what the infiltration documents had to say. This is the Nathrazim's infiltration documents about all of the different cosmological forces. They tell us that there is a back door into the Shadowlands, into Ardenweald specifically, through the Emerald Dream, and they're going to exploit this back door. So this could be where Elune and the Winter Queen met, is due to this back door, or of course the back door was built because Elune used to be there. But this gives us all the evidence we need to connect Elune to the Shadowlands. Whether she was there physically or not doesn't matter, they are connected. The next one, I think just as strong a connection, is the Realms of Order, more specifically the Titans. The Titans tell us in the Chronicles of all the things that they encounter through their travels leading up to Azeroth, the things that they encounter on Azeroth, and then also to some extent, not in as much detail as one would have wanted, but at least in some detail, how the ordering of Azeroth took place. At no point do they speak about a meeting of Elune. They simply reference that Elune helped Aenar set up the Emerald Dream, and that Elune had a hand in a bunch of other experiments. They don't really go into all that much detail, and it almost comes across as if either they don't want us to know anything about Elune, which is why they write so little about her, or that they themselves don't really know. But there's no mention of distrust whatsoever. And the Titans are not the most trustworthy bunch, by the way, or trusting bunch, I should say. They distrust almost everyone, and yet they meet this being here, and they just go, yeah, sure, help us build stuff, why not? I don't think that's the first time they met. If it was, there would have been some reference of them not trusting Elune, not wanting to work with Elune to some extent. So they speak about Elune as if Elune is almost one of them. I think connects Elune to some extent quite strongly, I would suggest, to the Realms of Order and the Titans more specifically. But then there's also the connection to the light. And this is where we get to sort of, well, not the light, life. This is where we get to a little bit weaker of a connection. It is purely the fact that Elune helps create the Emerald Dream. The Emerald Dream is where life is born on Azeroth. It is the perfect blueprint of Azeroth. In the event of a reorigination, the dream is where life will once again come from. Not only that, but Elune, the Winter Queen, refers to Elune as her sister. Now, the Winter Queen is basically not one of the Eternal Ones of Death. If everything that Steve Denuser told us and everything that we see in the Shadowlands is to be believed, Ardenweald is the winter cycle of the life cycle, the cycle of seasons. It's not where things go to die, it's where things sort of go to rest, rejuvenate, and then be reborn. And there's a little bit of evidence here and there that seems to suggest that the only way you do not go back, so the only way that you get stuck inside Ardenweald is, one, if you were not a creature of life to begin with, so you were sent to Ardenweald because the Arbiter, for whatever reason, thought that that's a good place for you to be, and now you're there, or when your world is destroyed. There is an entity within Ardenweald. When you talk to him, he explains how the skies turned green and everything just got destroyed. And that's why he will always be in Ardenweald, because he cannot go back. And then, of course, some new evidence that we have now suggests that if fate have willed you to be there, then you will be there. You will be tied to that realm. Since, new evidence, spoiler alert for anyone that doesn't want spoilers, new evidence does seem to suggest that Malfurion will have to sacrifice himself to bring Ysera back, because fate requires that the right soul this time give up their life. The right soul has to be in Ardenweald. Is he going to come back? We don't know, but anyways, that's the gist of it. So Ardenweald, in any way, shape, or form, or the way that you look at it, must be a realm of life within the realms of death, or at least a realm very much connected to the realms of life. This, along with the building of the Emerald Dream, the literal engine of life on Azeroth, suggests that Elune must have some connection to life. It might not be as strong as the one to the Titans, or as strong as the one to death. Definitely, there's no connection as strong to the one as the one to death, but it's definitely a connection. Now we're getting into the more, shall we say, very light, almost criminally undercovered connections. The first one is the light. How do we know this? Simple. Khadgar confronts Tyrande at some point, calling Elune a Naru. Tyrande does not take that well. She gets incredibly angry that Khadgar would even suggest this. So how does Khadgar come about this information? Well, he finds it in Karazhan. Now, Karazhan is an incredibly interesting place. Karazhan connects our realm to the realm of the Twisting Nether. Like, literally, half of Karazhan sits within the Twisting Nether, the other half in our realm. We know that the Twisting Nether is quite an incredible place. Sargeras said to spend thousands of years preparing for an invasion, and on Azeroth, those thousands of years will feel like a couple of days. So the Twisting Nether's time dilation is incredibly strong. And of course, we know that most of the books within Karazhan are books that have either been collected by Medivh by traveling through realms and times, or written by Medivh, on his travels, recording things. And it is in one of these books that there seems to be suggestions that Elune is a Naru, or very closely connected to the realms of light. Now, this is also quite prevalent in Elune's magic source, or the magic compound of Elune. She is Mother Moon. Most of her priests, most of her followers use moon abilities. The moon is nothing without the light. If you don't have a sun, you do not have a moon. This is literally how the moon works. So there must be some refraction of light, some kind of reflection of light within Elune. This gives us a connection to the light. So let's just recap before we continue. We now have a very well-established connection to death. We have a reasonably well-established connection to order. We have a connection to life, and we have what could be called a connection to light. So we have two cosmological forces left. We have the Void and we have the Foul. Now, this is where... Look, if you guys disagree with me on this, I'm fine with it. Because it's not... I'm not even convinced of this one. But with the Foul, we know that Sargeras turned the Temple of Elune into his staging area. This is where he opened his way into the Twisting Nether. This is one of the raids, one of the places where his generals were found, was inside this Temple of Elune on Broken Shore. We know that this is how he invades, and this is also where his avatar is kept. There's also multiple references of Elune throughout the whole of Legion. Okay, so there is some kind of a connection. It might not be very deep, because I can't remember if there's any other connection that I can think of now. It's at least a connection. Why the Temple of Elune? Why was this temple so very important? And then, of course, literally on the side of the Void speaks about how this place where the Temple of Elune stands used to be a great battleground. This is where the God of the Deep lost a great battle against the God with 7 heads. We know that Xalatath speaks about Elune as the upstart goddess, sort of mocking Elune at some point. So there is a connection there. Like I said, these two realms, I'm not going to fucking lie to you, they're not well connected. There is a connection, but it's not deep. So I will be okay if you guys go, yeah, Clon, that's where you lose me. That is fine. But okay, now that we've established at least some kind of a connection between Elune and all of the cosmological forces, let's talk about how things get weird. Firstly, Elune is the only Titan level being that we know of that exists purely in the Great Beyond, does not seem to answer to any of the other cosmological forces, do seem to have a lot of interaction with the other cosmological forces, and also the only one who seems to have claimed races for themselves, worshippers for themselves, so to speak. This might be one of the sources of her power, but none of the other beings do this. The Eternal Ones are not worshipped by those they rule over. They rule over them, but they're not worshipped by them, at least not in the truest sense of the word. The Titans have no chosen people that honor them or pray to them. This is just the Titans do what they do. They couldn't care less whether you like them or not. The Void Lords kind of like worship, but only insofar as their priests are crazy and do their bidding. I don't think they derive any sort of power or any sort of fealty from the ones that worship them. The Foul really couldn't care less. They just want to kill shit. And then the Light also really big on worship, but more so in terms of building an army of the Light to conquer with. Again, I don't see any sort of connection to wanting or garnering strength from the worship in any way, shape, or form. So this makes Elune rather special in that regard. Not only that, but Elune seems to have a hand in things that doesn't make sense to me. There's a whole lot of things that Elune has a hand in that I genuinely do not understand. Let's start simple. The dragons. Was Elune involved in that? Well, we know kinda that she was, although that's never mentioned in the origin story of the dragons. During the origin story of the dragons, Tyr and the Proto-Drakes took down Galakrond. Tyr then went to the other Titan Keepers and asked them to bestow their power upon the Proto-Drakes, to make them aspects to help them defend Azeroth. Odin says no, he's not going to have anything to do with this, and then the lore goes and says they went to the Titans anyways, and the Titans blessed the dragon aspects. And that's the end of it. It even goes into detail about which Titan most definitely blessed which dragon. But then, during Wrath of the Lich King, when Malygos dies and Caligos becomes the new aspect of the Blue Dragonflight, suddenly the ritual requires Elune's blessing. Caligos cannot become the Blue Dragonflight, the aspect of the Blue Dragonflight, without the blessing of Elune, which Elune graciously accepts and awards him. Why? There was no mention of Elune in any way, shape, or form in the origins of the dragons. It was clearly the blessings of the Titans. But now, for a new aspect, there has to be a blessing. Something's not adding up. The story of the dragons is one that starts in myth and lies. Tyr tells the dragon aspects that they should go forth and tell everyone that they got their power because they defeated Galakrond. Not to tell them that their power is a gift because they defeated Galakrond, a gift bestowed upon them by the Titans. This makes no sense to me. I understand lies. The Titans like lying. But why this lie? What exactly does this lie mean? Why would this lie be important? It doesn't convince anyone of anything, nor do the truth put anyone in danger. So the Titans bless something with power to protect Azeroth. They've done that with many other things, and they've been quite open about the fact that they did this with many other things. The only reason I can see for this lie is if this lie kind of was for the benefit of the Titans. So this lie was for the Titans, so that they wouldn't know how the dragon aspects got their power. Now, why? Well, if anything, Elune does like her secrecy. She doesn't like doing things out in the open. She's not big on that. Could it be that Elune was the one who blessed the aspects, who gave the aspects their power? But she didn't want anyone to know that she has access to all of this power, because this effectively makes her a titan of everything. She literally has no weak spot. What does this make her then? What is Elune then? That's the question. What is Elune? Now I'll venture a guess, and then you guys can tell me what you think of it. What if Elune is either the seventh force, the one in the Grimoire of the Shadowlands, or rather in the journal leading up to the Grimoire of the Shadowlands, where they see a seventh force that is the fractal of the six. The six either came from this seventh force, so the seventh force would actually be the first force, or the seventh force came from the six forces. But this force, the seventh force, whatever it is a force of all of the other forces. This would then make sense. The fact that Elune could bless the different dragonflights, the fact that Elune has so many connections with all of the other cosmological forces, because she is the result of all of those cosmological forces. Her power is drawn from all of those cosmological forces. This is why she is part of all of those cosmological forces. That's one way of looking at it. The other one is that Elune is not within the system. Elune is a particle or a power that was inserted into the system upon its creation to watch over the creation. This would make Elune part of either the other force. Now, in the beginning, there were two forces. This, by the way, is confirmed lore. This is not speculation. There were two forces in the beginning. One of these forces did a whole bunch of things and started our universe. The other force is never mentioned again. It is simply referred to as the outside force. What if Elune is the child of that outside force, inserted into our realm for whatever purpose, either to maintain balance within the system or to keep an eye on the system, so that this system does not become so powerful so as to threaten the balance of power of anything that is outside of our current scope. And yes, there are things outside our current scope. Again, Steve Denuser said, when you look at the cosmological map, you can zoom out. There are more things outside of our immediate cosmological universe. To what extent, I don't quite know. But that's my theory. That's my suggestion, at least. That's my speculation. What's yours? What do you think Elune is? Let me know in the comment section down below. I apologize that this wasn't as high energy as it probably could have been. I really do not feel well. My voice is very, very itchy and scratchy and shit. It's a weird day. To all of the patrons, the YouTube members, and of course the Twitch subs, thank you so much for all of your monthly contributions. It does mean the absolute world to me. Without you guys, I would literally not be here. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. As always, ladies and gentlemen, be kind to each other, be good to each other, and I will see all of you in the next one. Peace out, fam.